Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we are continuing our web development series. We are currently at episode number 8. And before we get started, if you didn't watch any of the previous episodes, I do recommend you to watch those first because it will help you to better understand what we're doing today. But without any further ado, let's get started. Okay guys, so what we're going to talk about today are iframes and how to customize your buttons in CSS. Now let's take a little look at what we did last time. So we actually did the second page because the first page was actually getting quite cluttered. And in this file, I showed you about how to make divisions, how to make these blocks to divide your page into sections, and I also showed you how to make forms. Now, I didn't show you how to submit them and make them actually output some data to some piece of code. I just showed you how to make them, just how to make them appear and all of the elements that they contain. Because now if you click the submit button, it does not do anything. Now, we're going to get into that PHP later in this series, not right now. I just showed. Now, let's firstly, just do all the HTML stuff. Now, what we're going to do today, first things first, are iframes. And let's talk about what that means. So, if you have like these blocks right here, now in one kind of like these blocks, you might want to actually just add a whole other page. So, let's say you're doing your about section in your blog, and you want to have your Facebook page like a little window to your Facebook page, and they could just navigate through Facebook just normally, and you'll have just Facebook integrated as a whole page. Now, I'm going to show you how to do that kind of stuff. So right now, so let's do it in the first text box because it's quite clear, and I'm going to remove that heading so that we could have more space to work with, so it's easier to see what we're doing. So we're going to start and put iframe, and if you have Notepad++, you'll have to type this in. Now, if you're using Sublime, just like me, this will pop up. And here you have this little attribute, which is source, and here you want to put your page that you want to show in. So our page is homepage.html. Now, if you have an HTTP link, you can just put that here, in here, and just use it that way. Now, let's talk about some little style things. So when you put it, you have a few more attributes, and that's width and height. So at width, I'm going to put 100% of that little box, and at height, we're going to put 80% of that. Now, you could put pixels, also some measurement unit, but we're going to stick to percents of our box because this box basically fit it just as it needs. We could put 100 also here and it'll fit perfectly, but let's let it like this for the moment. And right now, if I'm going to go to Firefox and refresh the page, you could see our first HTML file that we initially did. It just shows up in here and it works just as it should. And you can see you have it here, and you just can use it just as well. And we just basically opened the page we are currently on, and you kind of have this. The whole thing is actually the whole thing with another thing which just opened itself, but basically we have the page that we want. Now, if we navigate to the page we are on right now, it kind of like nests in a copy of itself inside. Now, if the pages aren't linked, you can't really get to this effect. For instance, if we're talking again about the Facebook example I showed you earlier. Now, this is basically how you nest a page inside a page. Now, you have multiple things. You could actually use the style attribute to do some limited customization to it. Now, of course, you could do this just as well with your little CSS file that you have, and you could use to actually put in some more information also about this. So for instance, inside we could put border, and we're going to put it in just like that, and we're going to put it solid 1 pixel black, and we're going to go ahead and go into here. Now it's a black 1 solid pixel, 1 border pixel border, and it's a solid border. Now we could make that 5 pixels, and we could make that blue if you want. And now if we go into Firefox, you can see you have the border just as you put it. Now, if I would let the 1 pixel thick, I'm going to put that gray, so it's not that eye-catching. And you have the board. Now you can see this is like a little offset, and now I'm going to fix that right now. Simple as that. I'm going to put a margin to the left, and I'm going to make that -1 pixel. And now if I go here, it should, yep, now it aligns perfectly, and we perfectly nested our little box inside here. Now if also the left board doesn't show up, now it's perfectly aligned. Then right here, let's say we could put some more text, and we have a page inside a page, and this is basically how you use iframes, and some other elements like padding can be actually used into this, and you could take advantage of that into your CSS file in order to make your page. Now, the second thing I wanted to talk about were how to actually add some style to your buttons. So now for that, we're going to focus on our submit your request button right here that we did right here. Now you can see just plain and boring. Now I'm going to talk about how to style a whole thing, but we're going to do that later. Now we're going to start with the buttons because I want to just make everything work, just HTML and CSS, and show you how to basically shape your page, and then we're going to move on to the working in the back of the page, what's actually going behind everything, and how you actually submit your forms and make some login. Now we're going to take a little look at that later in the series, but for now we're going to focus just on the design and web design part, not also on the working behind. So how do we shape this button? Now let's go ahead and go into our resources.css, and we're going to add a new ID. We're going to call it, or let's make a class. We're going to make a class that we're going to call button. We're going to make a class that we're going to call button, or let's make an ID. So let's do a class button. So button, we're going to call that button. And we're going to add some info inside here. Now we're going to go into here and add class. We're going to put here button, so that we let know, look, we got it here. Now what we're going to do here is going to put firstly a border, and inside here we're going to make it 1 pixel thick, and we're going to make it solid, and we're going to make it Dodger blue. So let's use a color that actually is commonly used. So right now you can see that our little border, no matter if you hover on the button, no matter if you don't, your border is Dodger blue. Next we're going to go to background color, and we're going to do it also Dodger blue, and I'm going to talk later why we're doing this. Now your whole button is Dodger blue. It works perfectly for now. Next we're going to go to font family. You could select any font you want. So for instance, I'm going to use Calibri because it's a basic font and everybody knows it. So we're going to use a basic font size, and we're going to do that 13 pixels. And now you can see that your font basically updated. And we're going to do the color for your text. We're going to do white because it actually looks way better when it's white on blue, on light blue. And we're going to do ahead and do a border radius, and that's going to be 6 pixels. So we talked about border radius earlier in this series, and now we just added some rounded corners. But let's say you don't want it this small, so first things first, I'm going to make this around 18 size because we want something big. And we're going to adjust the width and height for that. So we're going to do width. We're going to make that 250 pixels, and height, we're going to make it 150 pixels. Too big. 150. Let's do it just 50. Yeah, that's much better. So this is your little button. Of course, you could do your positioning yourself. I'm not going to get into that. Let's make the text smaller. We're going to do that 15, and we're going to do width something like 180, and this is going to be around 30 in terms of height. And the button now looks right size-wise. Now you could customize this and make it just at your liking. Now it looks good, but how do you make it behave? Because it behaves really bad. Now, first things first, we kind of want to make it so that actually it behaves when we put the mouse on it. So we're going to put button, and then we're going to put I think it was like that. Let me just remember. Okay, so it was hover, just like that. And what I wanted actually, it was, let's go into here and put transition. And we're going to put 0.4 seconds. All, we're going to put ease. So we're going to make that button ease. And then we're going to put at hover. And what do we want to modify at the button when we're hovering on it is basically the color. So background color. We want to make the text color and the background color invert itself. So background color is going to be white in this case, and color it's going to be Dodger blue. So what happens is that when you put this hover thing, the properties remain the same, but we're actually overwriting these two properties from this state when we're hovering the mouse on it. So if I go right now, you could see that our button actually takes change, and it actually looks pretty nice. So this is basically how to customize your button. You just make that hover thing, and you just customize your button. You can make it look any way you want it. You can make it behave any way you wanted. But this is basically how to make a button look good. And we're going to use this thing also when we're going to do the top navigation bar. And I think we're going to do that next time, because I'm going to also show you not only these tags, I'm going to show you how to actually use them and make something useful. For instance, we're going to, at the end of the series, I'm actually planning to have a working website actually. So we're going to make a website with everything we learned into this series. So yeah guys, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, click that subscribe button, and also click that little bell to get notified every time I upload a new video. So see you next time on HowToIT.